in the winter's night, but my heart still aches for those who fight for freedom's flame in the darkest light. True freedom fighters, the Mavericks we praise, blazing their trails through shadowy days. They stand unbroken, their courage shines for every soul, for all mankind. All I want for Christmas is freedom, for every maverick to lead the way. Goodwill toward men, let the light begin, and a brighter dawn for a brand new day. Break the chains of tyranny, let the world hear our rights are from a higher place, so clear. All I want this Christmas, my cheer, is freedom for all, far and near. The battle's not over, the war still calls against those who build oppression's walls. But the maverick spirit will never fade, a beacon of hope through history's blade. So we pray for strength and we stand as one, for the rights of the many and the dreams yet spun. The gift of freedom, it knows no price, born of courage, sacrifice. All I want for Christmas is freedom, for every maverick to lead the way. Goodwill toward men, let the light begin, and a brighter dawn for a brand new day. Break the chains of tyranny, let the world hear our rights are from a higher place, so clear. All I want this Christmas, my cheer, is freedom for all, far and near. Let's honor the brave, the fearless, the true, the mavericks who dare to break through. Their fights are fight, their cause divine. Freedom for all, for your heart and mind. All I want for Christmas is freedom, for every maverick to light the way. Goodwill toward men, let the peace begin, and a brighter world for us to stay. Stand against dictators, let justice ring, our rights from above, the anthem we sing. All I want for Christmas this year is freedom for all, far and near. Ooh. This Christmas we remember the maverick so bold, who carried the torch in the freezing cold. Freedom's the gift, the fight never done. This Christmas we pray it's for everyone.
Greetings, Mavericks and new viewers. Tonight, direct and live from the Maverick News Network World Studios. This is Maverick News with Rick Walker.
America Fest. Donald Trump says he's going to declare a national energy emergency. Well, what the heck does that mean? Well, it could mean a bunch of things. A lot of these government plans, strategies, announcements, whatever this kind of thing is, they often have unintended consequences, or sometimes there's a hidden agenda there. I'm going to tell you what a national emergency of this kind might actually mean. And this coming from Donald Trump. a man who a lot of people are looking to for hope, but how is he going to deliver? A lot of concern out there and a lot of optimism. We'll touch on both sides of that tonight. I apologize for not being here last night. I was planning on joining you as usual, but it was my daughter's birthday. And things just kind of ran much later than I expected. And as a result, family first. So I just wasn't able to come on and be with you last night, but I'm back in the saddle tonight and ready to continue our quest for truth, real truth, and freedom. And there's a lot to talk about tonight because the pressure continues to mount on Justin Trudeau to resign as the Prime Minister of Canada, as the government of Canada itself sees Donald Trump as an existential threat, certainly to the economy, with his threat of imposing a possible 25% universal across-the-board tariff on everything that is exported from Canada to the United States, maybe even an existential threat to the country itself, with his rhetoric about Canada becoming the 51st state. And even just destroying the economy could destroy Canada. How serious is this? Pretty damn serious. Even just talking about this stuff has thrown our country, my country, Canada, in many ways already an extension of the United States, into a tizzy. It's plunged us into political chaos, with our Prime Minister on the edge of possibly resigning, which has a lot of people rejoicing on the heels of the Finance Minister losing confidence in Trudeau and stepping aside. We're going to get into it tonight. There's so much to talk about. And Vladimir Putin's lies. Oh, Rick, don't criticize Putin. He's a really good guy. Yeah, not so much. Putin taking us another step closer to a possible nuclear holocaust with his careless choice of words again. I'll call it out on both sides. I don't want the world to end in a nuclear fireball. I want everyone to live free, but I would rather die on my feet than live on my knees. Stay with me. There's a lot to unpack tonight.
You know, someone very profoundly once said many years ago that if fascism ever comes to America, it'll come in the name of liberalism.
Well, I think it's time we ask ourselves if we still know the freedoms that were intended for us by the Founding Fathers. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on Earth.
The entire world is watching.
Every dictator, every crazy dictator in the world is watching.
The world is watching. On TV. The entire world is watching. On social media.
But the entire world is watching, and yes, they are seeing what we have apparently bravely been willing to say that others are thinking.
Stand for freedom. Literally stand for freedom. Let's get this done. The entire world is watching.
We're at war with the most dangerous enemy that has ever faced mankind in his long climb from the swamp to the stars.
Maverick News. Maverick News. Maverick News.
Let me have more control of my own destiny.
The world is watching. Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay, so ABC is saying that Trump, here's the headline on ABC about today's festivities at this conservative convention, this convention for young conservatives. Here, take a look. Times they have changed, and very quickly with the re-election of Donald Trump. Says Trump takes a victory lap with young conservatives. Subheading, Trump celebrates election results and looks ahead to delivering on promises. Let's just read a little bit about this. It says, in his first rally-style speech since winning the 2024 election, President-elect Donald Trump raved about his election victory for nearly 10 minutes before transitioning to confidence that he would deliver on his administration's promises, as well as touting his cabinet selections. Trump spoke at America Fest, a political festival for conservatives put on by Turning Point, the conservative organization run by Charlie Kirk that was instrumental in helping Trump garner support among younger voters through its Get Out the Vote initiatives in battleground states. And it goes on, it talks here about, just what they outlined for you, but there's something here that really, I don't think that they're cluing in on too much, not in this piece, and that's where Donald Trump talks about declaring an emergency on day one. This seems to have just washed over a lot of people, but we're going to talk about it a little bit. Now, let's just let's just see what the mainstream media coverage is like here, just for a moment. Okay, let's just run a little bit of this ABC report.
Former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie. Governor Christie, look, you know what it's like to be part of Donald Trump's inner circle. You were in the inner circle 2016 through 2020. But I want to ask you about Musk. He's practically moved into Mar-a-Lago. And my first question to you is, this is the wealthiest guy in the world. What is in it for him? Why has he become so attached to Trump?
You know, sometimes it's hard for folks to understand how intoxicating this can be for some people. But for Elon Musk, he doesn't stand in front of 20,000 people and have them chant his name, no matter how rich he is, which is what was happening to him on the campaign trail.
Unless he's with Trump.
That's right, on a regular basis in front of Trump's crowds. And I'll tell you a quick story about Donald Trump himself in 2016, experiencing this for the first time. I was on the plane with him, and he would typically have this box of documents from Trump Tower, from the real estate business, that his body guy, Keith, would bring to him once the plane took off. And Trump opened the box, looked at a couple of the pages, and he turned to me and he held some of the papers up and he said, Chris, he said, who gives a damn about any of this stuff once I've been involved in your business? And I think that Musk is experiencing the same thing. Setting off rockets are great, electric vehicles are cool, and some of the other stuff he's doing, but it's not what he's experiencing right now.
Being right at the center of power
Yep.
and attention and all of that. How much influence does he really have on Trump? How much is he steering what Trump's been doing?
In the beginning, I think anybody who plays this role for Trump, and you go through the last 8 years, John, and there have been different people who played this exact role for Trump. It's different because it's Elon Musk, But when you initially begin in that role, you have enormous influence. And he loves having you around, and he loves listening to you, and you're the best thing in the world. It will always decline. And that's what happens, and you'll see it. It will happen with Elon Musk, too. I used to say this to General Kelly when he first became chief of staff. Yeah. Today, you're trading at 100 cents on a dollar. You will trade to zero. The only question is how long will it take?
Yeah, certainly the case with
you will trade to zero. Interesting, it's America Fest Day, and what are they focused on? Elon Musk. We're going to come back to that because this is worth talking about. Musk is getting considerable mainstream and even independent media attention, and there's good reason for it. And it's pretty simple why. I'll tell you why when we pivot back to that subject matter. But let's go and take a look at what happened here at America Fest. First of all, here's Trump. Now this, I don't think Donald Trump is a very good dancer, but he is a pretty darn good golfer, or so I'm told. And here's his swing on full display. I gotta mute the audio because we'll get nuked with a copyright strike. That was the end of his dance at America Fest as he opened things up there. Charlie Kirk gave the opening address, I guess. And today was, I believe, the last day. It was a packed house. And I need to take a little break here while I get the rest of these clips queued up. Just give me a moment. We're going to come back and we're going to just touch a little bit on this. And I'm going to get into this whole thing about Trump saying he's going to declare a national emergency.
The sharing of biased and
false news has become all too common on social media.
More alarmingly, some media outlets publish these things they simply aren't true without checking facts first.
Unfortunately, some members of the media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think, and this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
In an ocean of lies a century deep, the truth awaits. Choose not the red pill. Choose not the blue pill. For both are an illusion. Discover the power of M. The power of individuality. We are Mavericks. We are the way to the light. Fear not the storm. Join our quest for truth. Truth will set you free. Maverick News. The world is watching.
All right, let's start sort of at the beginning. Hang on here. We need to bring up Charlie Kirk. This was his opening address. As I wasn't here yesterday, we'll get a little caught up here. Just a little bit from his opening address, kicking things off in America Fest. Setting the stage for Donald Trump and, as ABC says, his victory lap.
One mere politician of the last 40 years would have cut that deal. They tried to take his business empire from him. They did everything they could to cut him off, but there's something that drives this man that is different. And it's why all of you are here. It is a love of the beautiful things. It's a love of our home. A place that we inherited that we were sick and tired of seeing abused. To see our border wide open, to see our kids trans in classrooms, to see our beloved homeland become a dumping ground for the third world. To see our taxpayer dollars being sent to Ukraine while our southern border remains wide open. Donald Trump loved his nation so much so that he put all of his business empire on the line so that he would go and take a bullet for you to save America for your kids and grandkids. And more than that, I want you to understand the cultural reversal that we all lived through, because it was repeated. Now I'm going to ask somebody, can somebody throw me your MAGA hat here for a sec? Who wants to get? There we go. Okay. 90 volunteers. Thank you guys. Look at this. Who remembers back in 2016? If you wore this hat on the streets of New York, it was open hunting season. If you wore this in 2021, they would come after you. And yet I saw something fundamental. It's fundamentally different. It's something changed. And it goes to show that the good guys can't win if we push hard enough. It goes to show that we can turn the symbols where they are trying to ostracize us into symbols of victory. When I went to college campuses this last cycle, we ordered a couple hundred MAGA hats. All of a sudden, all the kids wanted them. We started passing them on. I said, okay, we'll do a couple thousand. I go to the University of Georgia and handed out 5,000 of these things. This MAGA hat that all of you guys own went from a symbol of those people are terrible Nazis to the coolest, most desirable thing that one can wear in American politics. And that didn't happen overnight. That happened because we refused to accept the names they would call us. And we kept on wearing the hat. We refused, like, okay, you're going to call me a racist. I don't care. What else do you have? I'm going to keep wearing the hat. It became a symbol of strength. It became a symbol of resolve. It became a symbol of grit. It became a symbol of American masculinity coming back into our culture. It became a symbol that American greatness is what we demand, that we deserve. That we're not going to apologize for being the greatest nation ever to exist in the history of the world. That we are going to have a mass deportation effort, and that we're going to take back our nation. That hat then represented something even more. President Trump, the greatest deal maker that politics has ever seen. He brokered quite a deal over the summer. He said, okay, Democrats, you guys get Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger. We get Bobby Kennedy and Tulsi Gabbard. Let's make a deal. And that hat all of a sudden represented not just common sense, but it represented people of all sorts of different political stripes and backgrounds that were coming together with their sphere of focus and influence. Maybe you are a parents' right advocate. Maybe you are here as a Second Amendment enthusiast. Maybe you are a school board member. Maybe you are a pastor. Maybe you are a Make America Healthy Again advocate. Whatever focus group that you have, as long as we can agree on the big stuff, the country's collapsing, things are amiss, we need to combine forces and defeat the incumbent regime. Welcome aboard. We are going to make America great again. And what we witnessed on November the 5th, being this great comeback story, was also the result of the hard work that all of you guys did in the grassroots. For those of you that chased ballots, those of you that registered voters, for those of you that gave powerful sermons on the Sundays before the election, for those of you that showed up at Republican meetings at 7 a.m. to make sure that everyone had the yard signs that they need. This is your victory. You see, it is easy just to say that it's just one candidate versus another. What it really is it one army of activists versus another army of activists. And guess what? We were outspent, but we outworked them this election cycle. Because we wanted more. Kamala Harris had $1 billion, and hey, by the way, where did that $1 billion go? China, she sent it to China. She sent it to Zelensky. He's got enough money. $1 billion to do what? And yet we were outspent, we know it. We knew that we were up against the most powerful, well-funded machine in American political history. And it was a machine versus a movement. And the movement were people, many of us in this room, yeah, that were not, it's not an oligarch, not a billionaire, but you could knock on 1,000 doors. You could chase 100 ballots. In this state of Arizona, which I, as you know, care deeply and passionately about, we made a promise. We said we are going to invest the greatest ground force Arizona has ever seen. We hired well over 1,000 full-time people here on the ground in Arizona at Turning Point Action. And I can say now, Arizona was the best performing swing state of the 2024 election. We changed over 200,000 low propensity ballots here in the state of Arizona. And in fact, when I was up, Mr. President, can we have you at this event? Can we try to get you? And he said, Charlie, I will only come under one circumstance. It is called a tribute to Arizona, to honor the great people of Arizona that gave me my greatest victory ever in Arizona and brought State 48 back to greatness. And that happened because of the hard work and the grit and the resolve of all of you in this room. And it goes to show that things can change. It goes to show that we can improve this country, that we don't have to accept the premise. But then it brings us to today's time. Because we must simultaneously look at the past, what we've been through, the present, which is celebration and giving glory to God for what was given, but also the future. Because if we let our guard down and act as if that everything is fine, the transformation of the Republican Party is not yet complete. You see, for those of you that follow me on social media, you know that I've been very outspoken the last week saying the following. Very simple. It's not radical, it's not revolutionary, I think it's reasonable, which is this. If you are a Republican from a deep red state, and you voted for Joe Biden's nominees, and you're giving Donald Trump a hard time about his nominees, we will primary you and remove you from office immediately. And for all of those red state senators out there, let this be a warning to you that the 20,000 people here at America Fest and the 1 million people here that are watching online and the millions of people that will see these clips, we are not going to take a Republican Party that gets in the way of the will of the people. We want a Republican Party that fights to win. And for every U.S. Senator out there, you must confirm Pete Hegseth, Tulsi Gabbard, Kash Patel, Bobby Kennedy, Pam Bondi, and Trump's entire cabinet, or you will face a primary challenger immediately. Because we want a Republican Party that is as conservative as its voters. We want a Republican Party that is responsive to all of you. We want a Republican Party that actually listens to what you want. Not a Republican Party that goes to D.C. and becomes something completely and totally different. And look at the power that you have. In just the last 24 hours, we did something that we never would have been able to do before. They were trying to do this ridiculous, sick, and twisted and concocted 1,500-page Democrat boondoggle giveaway continuing resolution. Under old circumstances, that thing just would have passed. But there's new voices. And we took to social media. Elon Musk took to social media. Many of you took to social media. And the president took the lead and said, no, we're not going to give Congress a 74% pay raise while Americans are being crushed by inflation. We're not going to send more money to Ukraine. We're not going to have this boondoggle of biolabs being spent overseas. We're not going to have immunity for January 6th committee. And what you did, and I want to show the power that you have, is that you, everybody in this room and everyone watching online, you defeated the Washington insiders in hours, everybody. And that CR is dead. It is dead. And you did it. And it is going to be a relentless fight. Now, the new CR that they have went from 1,500 pages to now it's like 4 or 5 pages. And President Trump is going to get what he's asked for, which is a clean slate, a debt ceiling increase, so that we can actually get the biggest, baddest, and best border bill in the history of our country. And the first piece of legislation for President Donald Trump. The top priority. But it is only going to improve if we stay engaged in the grassroots. If we continue to knock on doors, take over local precinct committees, to start Turning Point USA high school and college chapters. And I just gotta brag on our high school chapters. I said this briefly in the video, everybody, but young men are the most conservative they have been in over 50 years. 50 years.
Okay. So he says young men have been the most conservative they've been in over 50 years, half a century. I would say define conservative, because what I see going on right now is not really conservative. I've been saying this for quite a while. This is a populist movement. This is not conservatism. This is a convergence of ideologies. This is something new that is not like Reagan conservatism. It just isn't. So he's using that word conservative, and yet mixed in with the inner circle this time. On one side, you do have some conservatives, no question. On the other side, now you have, well, he mentioned the names: Tulsi Gabbard, RFK Jr., a lot of former Democrats, I would say people who have for a long time, liberals, socialists, maybe even some communists, maybe a lot of communists on that side, and libertarians. It's a mix of people from various ideologies on that side. And then over here you do have the conservatives. When I listen to Sebastian Gorka, I'm hearing very conservative things. When I listen to Tulsi Gabbard, it's kind of a mix of conservatism with classical liberal stuff, and then some even pretty far left socialist stuff. That's why she was running at one point to lead the Democrats. She ran for the leadership. This is not the Reagan Republican Party anymore. This is MAGA. MAGA is not the old Republican Party, and I don't think that this is conservative. This is not conservatism. This is not what it is. They're using these phrases because it's a label, a brand. They're selling it as a sub-brand of the Republican Party, a sub-brand of MAGA. It's not what it is. Social media. This ties into what we're going to talk about with Elon Musk as well. People think we're all awake and that we're all thinking for ourselves, and that, well, we're not paying attention to the mainstream media, therefore I have the truth. Do you? We'll get into that too tonight just a little bit. Trump, though. Oh yeah, and some of what I heard in his speech right there, I'm not a lot of it, yeah, I'm there. Some things, though, red flags going up from Charlie Kirk, because I'm hearing just little points that run in conflict with conservatism and people that I would describe as traditional or classic Reagan-style conservatives. People like Mark Levin, who would take issue with some of the things that Charlie Kirk said there. Me too, because I'm more on that old school Reagan conservative side. I'm not over on the, well, as Jackson Hinkle would say, the MAGA communist side. I'm not over there. I'm over here. That's what attracted me. Fiscal responsibility, you know, get spending under control. Those are the things on my side that I'm concerned about. Protecting constitutional rights and freedoms for individuals, not collectivism, certainly not authoritarianism. Those are not the things that appeal to me. If you're a constitutional conservative, like, and I mean really, then, you know, we're probably more in alignment. Nobody agrees on everything 100% of the time. I'm just saying these old labels don't really apply so easily these days to even the Democrats. They've become, you know, sucked further over to the left too. Maybe if both sides keep getting sucked around, they'll finally meet, because when you get to the far right and the far left, they end up looking very much the same anyway. And that's kind of what you're seeing on the populism side of the equation right now. Now, how about Trump? Let's go back to Trump. Here's Trump. We'll run this one first. And he's saying here that this is not his victory. He's saying it's a victory for you, the people. Here he comes. Here he comes. Donald Trump.
Well, hello, Arizona. It's great to be here. Nice to win the election. That's very nice to win. And I want to wish everybody a very Merry Christmas. They don't say that too much anymore. We say it. And when I had all that smoke backstage, I said, hey, are there any steps in front of me? I don't want to go down. I go down, that would not be good. We don't want to do that, nice and slow. But I just want to thank you. What a beautiful production this is. What a great job the whole group does. And been amazing. Turning Point's been amazing. And it's really been tremendous numbers of American patriots. It's really been great. And you saw what happened last month. And we had Turning Point's grassroots army. It's an army. They turned out to vote. And they voted in record numbers. And everybody else voted in record numbers, too, I have to tell you. And we did something that was really epic. We won a battle that a lot of people thought was very hard to win, you know, too big to rig. Remember what I said, too big to rig? We make it too big to rig, we're gonna win. And it really was one of the great political victories in the history of our country, and that's good. They said one of the very big radical left newspapers said the most consequential election in the last 129 years. And I said, couldn't they have made it a little bit longer than that? You know, 129 years, but that's pretty good. But we won, oh, it's so nice. We won the popular vote by a lot, by millions and millions. And I used to hear the first one, we won and we did great. And they always would say, while he didn't win the popular vote, he won the electoral college. You know, they'd say that low. But we actually did very well then, but we did really well the second time. And this time, we said, the hell with it. We've got to just blow them away. And that's what we did. We blew them away. So we won all 7 swing states. Remember, they were saying, well, you know, we did very well in early voting, so we didn't have to win too much, because we were way ahead. But they said, well, he only has to win 2, but we won all 7. Can you believe it, huh? We won all 7. And we carried the great state of Arizona, something not easy for a Republican to do, but it was easy for us to do. And we had more than a 6-point landslide. That's called the landslide here. And not only did we reclaim the White House, we also took back the U.S. Senate. And we won the largest popular vote majority for House Republicans in a presidential year since 1928. That's a pretty good thing. And I want to express my tremendous gratitude to Charlie Kirk. He's really an amazing guy. Amazing guy. and his whole staff for their relentless efforts to achieve this very historic victory. It's such a great honor. It's not my victory, it's your victory. It's a great honor, man.
Yeah, so there was that, and then he continues with, a focus on social issues. After Kirk comes out and says that America's seeing a return to masculinity, essentially, and the most conservative males in over half a century. And then here's Trump talking about the transgender issue.
With the stroke of my pen on day one, we're going to stop the transgender lunacy. And I will sign executive orders to end child sexual mutilation, get transgender out of the military and out of our elementary schools and middle schools and high school. And we will keep men out of women's sports. And that will likewise be done on day one. Should I do day one, day two, or day three? How about day one, right? Under the Trump administration, it will be the official policy of the United States government that there are only two genders, male and female.
Interesting. So, yeah, it's that you can call it conservative, I guess, that take on things. I'm about freedom, right? Freedom of choice, freedom of expression, freedom of speech, freedom, not authoritarianism. And then these are sticky issues. How do you really address issues of freedom? How do you balance freedom with legislation and then the rights of the individual? When does someone's rights kick in? What about parental rights versus a child's rights? These are sticky issues, and whatever Trump does on day one, and it seems like he wants to do a lot of things on day one, so it sounds like his ballpoint pen will be flying fast and furious on day one, signing a lot of executive orders. But I'll tell you, there is going to be pushback from the other side on these issues. So there will be challenges. It's going to be an interesting 4 years. In fact, it's going to be a very interesting day one. America Fest was also very interesting because Cenk Uygur, I can't pronounce the guy's name properly, from the Young Turks. I don't watch them that much because he and that program doesn't really appeal to me much, honestly, but sometimes he has some valid things to say. And even though he, I would say, is supposed to be sort of on the other side of the equation, they gave him time on the stage, which again says to me that these old labels, conservative, liberal, socialist, they don't entirely apply the way they used to, because here's a guy who has been very, very anti-Trump all the way along, and yet they give him space on the stage. Let's listen to what he had to say. This is just a short clip.
Example, I'm massively in favor of gun control. You told them not to boo, but I knew they'd boo on that one.
They paused to their
yes.
their respect. You were asking for it, Cenk.
Yeah, I did ask for it. So my point to my left-wing allies is, Am I going to emphasize and insist and demand on my gun control policies when we're in the middle of a national election? No, because I know those are not winning issues at this point. I've got more work to do to convince the American people before we get there. So if on trans issues or any other, or crime issues, etc., if you really believe in the most far left positions, as I do on gun control, for example, that's okay. But you've got to know what to emphasize and what not to emphasize. And so if you say, no, I'm going to die on every extreme hill, well, you will. Electorally, politically, you will die on that hill. And then you lose on all of your issues, because it's sometimes a binary game. Certainly elections are. So you got to know what to convince the American people of and what to hold your ground on. And the number one thing to hold your ground on is constitutional rights. So I'm going to do some...
Like the Second Amendment.
Pragmatism. He makes a very important point, and this applies to what's going on with Trump. And I have said this many times. Now, I've been involved in political campaigns when not working as a journalist. And my position on these things is that it's not so much a position, it's a point of view on how to run a campaign. And that is that if you're a politician and you want to win an election, you do not try to win an argument. What you do is you try to win the election. You focus on issues, you talk about issues that are your strong points, issues that you can score points with voters, and the issues where you know it's not likely to resonate with a larger group of voters, you de-emphasize those. You don't talk about those as much, or maybe you don't talk about them at all. So if gun control is not an issue where you're going to win votes, you just don't talk about it. You don't, my position and my advice to candidates has been, do not lie. Never lie, because you'll get caught. Politicians lie all the time, of course, but I advise that you don't. And then emphasize those issues where you're going to win. That's what Trump has largely done. And he's become a master at it. He got into politics as a businessman, said, I'm not a politician, remember? And he said, and I can't be bought because I'm already rich, just like Arnold Schwarzenegger did when he was running for office. I can't be bought. I have too much money. Okay, well, Trump has evolved into a very skillful politician, as you have seen. And that's really what's been going on here. He has been making deals across the board in order to generate as much support as he can possibly get. That's what propelled him to victory, because he needs to appeal to some people on the left. He needs to appeal to people in the center. He needed to appeal to conservatives. He needed to appeal to even people in the radical fringes, although he can't acknowledge that because he pays too heavy a price in the mainstream media for acknowledging that he's reaching out and trying to pull in votes from wherever he can get them. Because whether you're a good person or a bad person, you still get a vote. And when it's right down to the wire, when it's very close, as it has been ever since Donald Trump came down that escalator, you need support wherever you can get it in terms of people who are going to vote for you. That's why he's very hard to read as a politician, because he's a very good politician. He says this, but does that. He says this and then says that over there. Charlie Kirk took to the stage and said, Ukraine has enough money. We're not going to give any money to Ukraine. And Trump has said similar kinds of things along the way. He has, within the last couple of weeks, given interviews where he has said that he wants the war in Ukraine to end. Of course, he says he's going to do that on day one as well. He's going to be a very busy guy on day one. A very busy guy indeed. So he's going to have his pen ablaze, doing all these things. But while he's saying all those things about Ukraine over there, I saw his reports this past week as well, where sources have indicated that support for Ukraine after day one will continue. And I think that those reports are fairly credible. Those reports coming out of Europe from sources on the U.S. side, not getting too much play in media over here in the United States and Canada. That's because it doesn't play well, and I don't think Trump is echoing any of that here at home on the home front. But of course, he needs to send that message as well, even as they're about to go into what may be peace negotiations with Russia, because he has to negotiate from a place of strength. So you can't say we're going to pull all the funding. We're not going to support Ukraine anymore and then go into talks, because you have nothing to bargain with, because Putin then knows instantly that he's going to win. So he's telling people over here one thing, and then he's telling people something else over there, and I don't know where he's at. Maybe you think you know where he's at, but I don't think anybody really knows where Donald Trump is at. And when I listen to world leaders all over the place, they're all they don't know where he's at on any of these issues, and I think that's right where Donald Trump wants to be. And of course, he always starts from a position of extremes, including what he's doing with Canada right now, and Mexico, ahead of renegotiating the USMCA, ahead of taking office, as he puts pressure to tighten up the borders, if indeed that's even really what he wants. But certainly he needs that for optics, as he talks about immigration and deportations and all of these things that are massive in scope, massive in scale, and very disruptive, right? I can't imagine what it's going to look like when, people in body armor chasing other people through the streets and loading them into trucks to take them to processing centers or something, so that they can then be loaded onto, I don't know, airplanes and flown to some other place who's going to take them? I don't know. This is unprecedented, I would say, in U.S. history. I can't even, can anybody tell me, has another country ever engaged in massive deportations like this? What's that going to look like? Securing the borders, that's one thing, but rounding up millions of people and shipping them out of the country? Oh my God. Talk about a media PR nightmare. It's coming. Good luck, Mr. Trump, managing that one. I don't think it's going to go down the way a lot of people think that that's going to go down. I bet you he gets some people kicked out of the country, but I don't think it's going to happen on the scale that people think. And that's the other thing about Trump. He is not, in my estimation, as radical as some of the people around him. I think he's much more moderate than some people are thinking. At the end of the day, the policies he enacts, I think they'll be a little more centered. I think they'll have to be. Otherwise, the country is going to be plunged into because he has to govern as the president for everyone, and that includes people who are opposed to him, and he needs broader support. Now, I'm just saying, Trump is a populist, but he's also pragmatic. And I think he's smarter than some people give him credit for, and he's not going to push out to those edges, the political edges, as much as people think. And I'm seeing signs of it already. He's a pretty smart guy. And that's why, but at the same time, I do have some concerns. And what he said at America Fest about declaring an emergency, he said this. He's going to declare a national emergency on day one because of the energy issue. I think I've got that clip lined up here for you as well. Let me see if I can find it here. This one. Well, here, let's do the deportation one first, okay? So this is Trump talking about deportations again at America Fest. Like, I'm just, oh man, the media is going to be waiting. They're going to be like ready to pounce. They'll be like hidden behind bushes, shooting, you know, the enforcement officers dressed in their riot gear, chasing after people down the street, or bashing down doors in rundown neighborhoods, you know, condemned homes, and dragging, you know, people out by the scruff of the neck and then loading them into the back of buses and things. You wait and see. If that's what it comes down to, oh my God. Talk about a PR nightmare. Good luck. I just can't. I wouldn't want to see it. I wouldn't want that to happen like that. No, you want to take criminals and kick them out of the country. People are hurting people, fine, but I know this would not be a good thing for the United States. Wouldn't be good for Trump, wouldn't be good for MAGA, wouldn't be good for conservatism, wouldn't be good for Republicans, and it sure as hell wouldn't be good for the country. The United States would be damaged beyond repair if you had that happening on a mass scale. You understand what I'm saying, right? This has to be handled in a proper way, a fair way. I don't even want to get into it anymore. Let's listen to what he has to say. This again from America Fest.
Every single foreign gang and illegal alien member, all of this criminal network operating on American soil will be dismantled, deported, and destroyed.
Okay, criminals.
We're gonna get them out.
All right. Criminals gone. Fine.
They sent their gang members to us. Busload after busload. We had an open border. They're gang members. They're drug dealers. They're drug addicts. People that were sick. Every foreign gang member will be expelled, and I will immediately designate the cartels as foreign terrorist organizations. We're going to do it immediately. Every single foreign gang and illegal alien member.
So he's talking about deporting criminals there, and I don't think anybody's going to have an issue with that. Of course, I shouldn't say that. Some people will. Some people on, you know, the left will have a problem with that because they of course will defend the drug dealers. They'll even fund their defense. We've seen that happen, and that's not cool. That's not good at all. But yeah, they will. They'll defend the drug dealers and say they have rights too. Which they sort of maybe do if they are U.S. citizens. If they don't have U.S. citizenship, I'm not so sure that they actually have rights. Well, let's take another little break. We're going to keep digging into America Fest, Trump, and we're going to take a look too at how Elon Musk plays into all of this in ways that I think maybe some of you haven't thought of. Stay with me.
Maverick News. Fighting for freedom. Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals. Defenders of individual rights and freedoms. Credible. Trusted. Grounded in reality. Maverick News. Maverick News. Defending free speech. Free speech. Donate. at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
All right, so having lived through the invocation of the Emergencies Act in Canada, I have to tell you, when I hear the word national emergency, not only do red flags go up for me as a Canadian and a lover of freedom, huge alarm bells, five alarm fire, folks. That's what goes off in my head, all right? So this is language that for me, very, very concerning, should probably concern you too if you live in the U.S. It's not exactly the same thing. It isn't, but there are elements of authoritarianism in that kind of language. Here's Ted Cruz at America Fest. We're going to tee up Trump's promise to declare a national emergency with this from Ted Cruz saying that Trump has a clear mandate to follow through on his promises. Be careful what you ask for. That's what I say.
Keep Texas, Texas. Amen. And I've got to say, this election has given President Donald J. Trump, a Republican Senate and a Republican House, a clear mandate to deliver on our promises. 1 month from today, President Trump will secure the border. We are going to bring back jobs. We are going to lower prices. We are going to protect American families. We are going to put criminals in jail. We are going to keep our kids safe. We are going to end foreign wars with victory.
Victory.
And I'll tell you, Mr. President, the results of this election, 7 battleground states, you won all 7. The people elected a Republican Senate and a Republican House to have your back, and we are going to deliver results.
So there's Ted Cruz, more on the conservative side than the MAGA communism side. And he's saying that they're going to end foreign wars with victory. Now, does that mean the war in Gaza, or does that mean the war in Ukraine, or both? Or are we giving up? Are we just bending the knee? Are we just going to give Putin? You see, not so simple. You listen to Charlie Kirk, and it's like Ukraine has enough money, so they're going to, pull the funding and just pull the rug out from underneath the Ukrainians and let Putin walk all over them? I don't know. I can't read it. I have no way of knowing what's coming from the United States. That's also, in a way, a problem, because the United States has made a promise, again, to a country to defend it and do whatever it takes, was the language. And now it looks like you have a change of administration. Oh, we just changed our mind. Whatever. Yeah, this is a problem for the United States. This has been the problem for the United States that people haven't really clued into. It's a question of credibility and promises, and whether you keep your word, not just as a Democrat or a Republican, but as the government, as the country as a whole. Is there any consistency in your policy? How can anyone rely on the U.S. as an ally or a partner in anything, whether it's an issue of national security or war or even just economic issues, when you on one day or one administration you have a business deal on energy, and then the next day you have a new administration in, and they've decided that they're going to impose 25% tariffs on everything coming from your country to the United States, as Trump has said or threatened, and he's not even in office yet. It's thrown Canada into a tizzy. And then he takes to the stage here today. And yeah, he has a clear mandate to follow through on his promises. And now he's promising to declare a national energy emergency in the United States. Again, on what day? Was it day 3? Day 2? No, on day 1.
Under the Trump administration, it will be the official policy of the United States government that there are only 2 genders. Under the Trump administration, it will be the official...
Hang on. Wrong clip. Hang on. We'll run it. This might be
the United States government that there are only 2 genders, male and female.
This is the caption.
Doesn't sound too complicated,
does it? Clip.
To rescue our economy, I will sign day 1 orders to end all Biden restrictions on energy production, terminate his insane electric vehicle mandate, cancel his natural gas export ban, reopen Anwar in Alaska, the biggest site potentially anywhere in the world, and declare a national energy emergency. And do we have great people in energy, head of energy, Chris Wright, and Doug Burgum is the interior. And I merged both of them. You know, the energy had no energy. It just had the right to do energy. And interior had all the energy, but it didn't have the right to drill. So I merged them. And they're great friends. They're both very talented people. We're going to have so much oil and gas and other things, you won't know what to do with it. You'll say, please, President Trump, stop. We have too much. The prices are going too low, sir. Remember, we were $1.84 a gallon gasoline. Wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah, well, that's why I don't believe that there will be 25% tariffs across the board against everything coming from Canada, because they want our energy. He needs our energy. He needs to add that to the supply in order to keep prices as low as possible. So, and they know that out in Alberta, and the Premier of Alberta, they're already positioning that province alone to have friendly relations with the incoming Trump administration. Nevertheless, that threat is there. But what are we hearing there? We're hearing declare a national energy emergency. Now, I have to say, before I touch on that more, RFK Jr., there's another guy, okay? He's on the MAGA communism side. He has advocated for banning all natural gas exports. What has Biden been doing? Restricting natural gas exports. He's a Democrat. This is what I'm saying. This is not the old Republican Party. But Trump comes in. What's he going to do? No. We're gonna restore natural gas exports, which is exactly what I expect. And yes, they're going to drill, baby, drill, and they're going to get rid of those those electric vehicle mandates. Or will they? What about Elon Musk? I think you're going to find a balanced and nuanced approach to that one too. But a national emergency? What does a national energy emergency even mean? What would that involve? I'm not. Well, look, if you use words like that, when Trudeau imposed the Emergencies Act in Canada to deal with the truckers, look at what happened. They froze bank accounts. It gave the government. It was the use of the legislation that used to be called the War Measures Act in Canada. They call it the Emergencies Act now. It's a kinder, gentler title, but the legislation is no kinder or gentler. It's the imposition, in many respects, of martial law in either a limited scope or a broad scope. And that's what it was. And it was very targeted in Canada at a very specific political movement, the convoy. So if Donald Trump declares a national energy emergency, the implications would be multifaceted, based on historical precedents of national emergency declarations and the specific context of energy policy. So declaring a national emergency under the National Emergencies Act, if he really does that on day one with a stroke of his pen, it would grant him additional powers. Historically, those powers have included the ability to redirect funds, bypass certain regulatory processes, expedite project approvals that might otherwise be slowed by environmental or other regulatory reviews. So he's just going to say, screw the turtles. We don't care about those ants. Those bears can die, and I don't care what it does to I don't care if it destroys this piece of land. You're going to put that pipeline through. That's what it is. He's going to sign an executive order that will just bypass all of those checks and balances in order to expedite the drilling and the building of pipelines. He's going to say, I don't give a damn. I'm just making it so. I don't know how you feel about it. I guess it depends on whether you live in the path of the pipeline or not. So Trump has suggested intentions to increase energy production, specifically in fossil fuels like oil and natural gas, as you heard, to lower energy costs for Americans. And that could improve measures like suspending federal gasoline taxes. Okay, refilling the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, which he did the last time he was in office. And a smart move it was because prices were down, which is the time to do that. And it needs to be done because Biden has been tapping into them irresponsibly, in my view. And he can then also fast-track drilling permits by signing off on an executive order declaring a national energy emergency. And the emergency declaration would likely be used to rescind or bypass regulations set by the Biden administration that restrict or slow down energy production, particularly in areas like drilling permissions, natural gas exports, and possibly electric vehicle mandates. So by focusing on energy production, Trump aims to stimulate the economy, right? By creating jobs in the energy sector. And that will stimulate jobs in other sectors as well. You lower energy prices, and it just has a snowball effect, a domino effect in a positive way on the economy in general. It will fuel economic growth. And it also will reduce, by drilling at home, it'll reduce dependency on foreign energy sources. He was always boasting the last time around that he had made America energy independent. Meaning that, yeah, that the commodity of energy like oil still traded internationally as a commodity, thrown into the market to trade on the open market, but so much energy was produced domestically that it produced the equivalent amount that the United States needed to power itself. And a lot of that was done with fracking. And that in itself is controversial because to do that, they're injecting water into the earth, into the ground, to force oil up. But of course, you're polluting a lot of water in the process. And there are other issues surrounding that as well. Environmental concerns. It can cause earthquakes. So, any such declaration, a national energy emergency, would likely face legal challenges, probably from Congress, especially if it's seen as an overreach of executive power. And there are a lot of people, especially on the other side, who are concerned about it. The National Emergencies Act allows Congress to terminate a declared emergency with a joint resolution, though overriding a presidential veto would require a 2/3 majority in both chambers. And there could be lawsuits questioning the legality of the actions taken under the emergencies, similar to past challenges against emergency declarations for border wall funding or cybersecurity threats. And courts might scrutinize whether the emergency genuinely justifies the measures Trump might take. The fossil fuel industry might welcome such a move, as it would likely lead to fewer regulatory hurdles and more opportunities for expansion. And environmental groups would likely oppose all of this, seeing it as a rollback of climate change mitigation efforts, potentially leading to increased carbon emissions and environmental deregulation. And it is my view that Many, many, many of these environmental groups are really just funded by foreign entities, particularly oil-rich foreign governments that don't want the United States to be energy independent. Or they don't want the United States to have the wealth that comes from the extraction of its own resources. So he's going to, in a way, run afoul of what many foreign governments want, and they're going to oppose this. They're going to support those who oppose Trump on that front. We get it in Canada all the time, too. And then public reaction to all of this, because you'll have this chaos going on, this ongoing fight, constitutional challenges, legal challenges. You're going to have information warfare going on, propaganda on both sides, and then public reaction. As a result, no doubt, going to be divided, with those in energy-producing regions potentially, coming out to be more supportive because of the jobs that will be created in those areas. Pennsylvania, Texas. While others might be concerned about environmental impacts or the prioritization of fossil fuels over renewable energy sources. California. Here we go. It's going to be a fight. You want a civil war? Here's a good issue. So, declaring a national energy emergency would primarily serve as a tool for Trump to implement rapid policy changes favoring increased fossil fuel production with immediate economic benefits in mind, but also with significant potential for legal, political, and environmental controversy. Fasten your seatbelts, folks. It's going to be a wild ride. It's already a wild ride in Canada because of all of this. All connected, all related. Canada, an energy-rich country. We send tons of energy to the United States. Ontario's Premier, Doug Ford, coming out over the past week or so saying that because Trump is threatening this 25% across-the-board tariff, Ontario, as a last resort, might respond by cutting off energy to its customers in the United States. That would have a major impact on the U.S. economy and the Canadian economy. Alberta taking a different, more diplomatic approach to dealing with Trump and the incoming administration. We're hearing that Danielle Smith, the Premier of Alberta, might actually go down to the inauguration, although it's not clear to me if she's actually being invited or if she's just kind of going down to try to meet people and shake some hands and position Alberta in a positive way and in advance of the possibility of these tariffs, which could devastate the Canadian economy, destroy it, actually, potentially. But it would be extremely damaging to the U.S. too. Trudeau went down to Mar-a-Lago. The fallout from that, massive. It has been, I think, the final straw on Trudeau's back that's just broken it, because he did not do well at Mar-a-Lago sitting next to Trump. Trump made him look foolish. He went down there, and in my view, went to kiss the ring and bend the knee, hoping that he would come back and Trump would soften his position. But no, all that happened is Trump sensed weakness in Justin Trudeau. Now there's pressure for Trudeau to resign. He's been dealing with it all week. His finance minister has resigned. So now he doesn't have Chrystia Freeland by his side, probably his biggest supporter over the past 9 years while he has been in office, and even before that. And she's not there. She's abandoned ship, no longer in cabinet, replaced with Dominic LeBlanc as the new finance minister. The Liberals in damage control mode, trying to hang on. Pierre Poilievre, leader of the official opposition saying that he's going to the Governor General because he wants the Governor General to dissolve Parliament. But some controversy over that too. That looks more like political posturing. Poilievre knows that's not going to happen. It can't happen. It doesn't happen. It doesn't work that way. Trudeau has to go to the Governor General if he loses a confidence vote. It would is some controversy over that, whether that's actually going to happen or not. Whether Poilievre going to the Governor General, as he has, writing a letter saying, "I want you to dissolve Parliament or call it. I want you to reconvene Parliament over the Christmas break in order to have a confidence vote, so that we can get rid of Trudeau and call an election." That's not likely going to happen. And a lot of political analyst commentators coming out in the last few days also saying that smart move by Poilievre to say that, but it's politics. Just being honest with you. As much as people are like, yeah, we're going to do this. No, there's a process, and that's not the path forward. That being said, it's going to happen. It's going to happen, but it'll happen after the break, the Christmas break, like January 27th, I think. They come back to the House. The parliamentary session is resumed. Jagmeet Singh of the NDP has indicated in a letter that he posted online that he no longer has confidence in Trudeau, and the supply and confidence agreement between the NDP and the Liberals will no longer be honored, and he will vote non-confidence against the Trudeau government, pulling the NDP support, which means the minority Liberal government, which can only survive with NDP support, it's going to fall because the support won't be there anymore. Jagmeet Singh is the one who will help the Conservatives finally take the government down, I think. I think this time he means it. And that's probably because he will now qualify for his pension, because he will cross that date threshold. He will have been serving in office long enough to get his pension now after the Christmas break. So then it's like, yeah, okay, we can have an election now, because if I lose, I still get my pension. That's Jagmeet Singh. And the Conservatives have called him out on it. But regardless, that's the scenario that I think is actually going to play out. So I know everybody signed that petition that we talked about the other night, and I know that Poilievre is talking about this. I'm going to rewind again here just a little bit to not yesterday, but was it the day before? I'm losing track of my days because it was off yesterday. But this, Trudeau trying to survive all of this with his cabinet shuffle, look at the way he reacts when he comes out of the ceremony where the new cabinet ministers are sworn in, because he shuffled his whole cabinet after the resignation of Chrystia Freeland, his key cabinet minister, deputy prime minister, and finance minister. And here's what it looked like, and here's what he said, but listen to him carefully.
Prime Minister, are you going to step down? Are you considering proroguing?
We just had an excellent cabinet meeting that was almost entirely focused on the Canada-U.S. dynamic. We know how important it is for Canadians that we be there to protect not just the Canadian economy, but their jobs, the cost of living challenges they're facing that could get worse. We have a lot of work to do, and that's what we're focused on.
Okay, so that's him just ducking the question. What does that tell you? It says that he's trying to find a way to stay on as prime minister, but he is at the same time facing immense pressure from within caucus, from within his own party now to step down. In fact, here I will show you how serious this is. It's daily now, where this is it's just on full display. I had it queued for you. Anyway, this is Anthony Housefather Liberal member of Parliament, and he says that, let me see if I can find you the actual headline. I want to show it to you. Probably find it this way. Here we go. So he says that Trudeau is reflecting on what people, Canadians, are saying about all this. And this is a Liberal member of Parliament acknowledging that Trudeau has lost full confidence, really, of his own party, his own caucus. Here it is. I want to play you the clip too, but not commercials. So we've lost the clip. That's okay, but you see the headline here. It says Montreal Liberal MP Anthony House father says Trudeau should resign. This is from within his own party. So, and he's not alone. It's I think it's like 70% of the people in his caucus are now, after being polled, I don't know if they're all that public about it, but they're acknowledging Trudeau's on the way out. So I know that I hear a lot of cheering, and it's going to happen. It's just going to happen. Let me take a little break here. We're going to keep going on this. I've got some other stuff to talk about too. A whole bunch of other stuff. As a matter of fact, I was wondering, what am I going to talk about tonight? I don't know if there's enough news. Oh, there's more than enough. We've got a full slate.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow, maybe too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
All right, so yeah, so after Trudeau responded the way he did, sort of dodging that question, just talking about the cabinet shuffle, not answering the question of whether he's going to stay on as leader, then another key MP and cabinet member came out and was asked very much the same question about whether Trudeau has the confidence of the party and the cabinet, and let's pick that up because this is key as well.
Proroguing. Mr. Miller, why are you telling the Prime Minister that he should stay on?
Well, my conversations with the Prime Minister will obviously remain confidential. I think the important thing to remember that if you're a minister sitting around the cabinet table, confidence in the Prime Minister is not optional, and I'll leave it at that.
And why do you think he's the right leader to lead the Liberal Party in the next election?
Well, we have, in the next 60 days, an existential threat for the Canadian economy, for people that could lose their jobs. The unemployment rate could double. We need to focus on that, and I think he's the best to lead us in a very difficult situation. We can't be in a situation where the government has no ability to fight back, and that's what needs to happen.
And now we have the opposition party calling for an election. Are you going to prorogue?
Well, Pierre Poilievre is pulling another one of his convoy moves. They tried that going to the Governor General and tried to turn some weird trick that somehow gets Pierre Poilievre where he needs to be. So it's another shtick. Is he going to bring donuts and coffee to the Governor General at the same time with his convoy people? I mean, this is ridiculous. So these are games. We have to be serious and make sure that we're focusing on the next 60 days.
Even the NDP considering proroguing? Are you considering proroguing at all?
60 days, 60 days. And what did he say? He said that those tariffs, the threats of tariffs, represent an existential threat to the Canadian economy. That's not like it could hurt us. That means, existential means it destroys the country. That's how serious it is. And you have to take it seriously. I don't think it'll happen, but you have to take it seriously. That's the thing about Trump. I can't tell where the guy is at. Because over here, he invites Xi Jinping to his inauguration. And the leader of China declines. Then over here, his biggest trading partner is the number one ally they have in the world, Canada. We are. I just don't think he realizes it. Friendly. We're almost like we're not the 51st state, but we're sure a kissing cousin or a I don't know what we are exactly, but we're almost an extension of the United States, and our economies are woven together. The auto industry alone it's symbiotic. The flow of goods across that border, it's massive. And yet he's picking a fight with us. It's like, and hammering us. Is it just because he doesn't like Trudeau? No. It's about more than that. It's because he wants certain things, and this is his approach, and he's doing the same thing again with Mexico. I'm going to build that wall, and Mexico is going to pay for it. We're going to stop the flow of illegal migrants. We're going to impose all these tariffs unless they bring in border guards and stop the flow of illegals coming across the border. That's what he did the last time, and he had some success with that. That's what's going on here, I think. But man, if he follows through, Canada is in trouble. But I think the U.S. would be in trouble too. Next.
How do you think your government can function if there's about 40 enemies calling for Trudeau to resign?
Well, I think what's important is that we have a lot of work to do. Today we had a number of new ministers who joined cabinet, and they have portfolios that they need to execute. So I think over the next few weeks, they will do their work. And I think the reflection that the PM has committed to will happen over the next few weeks as well. What's important today is that we focus on Canadians. We focus on what's happening with the new administration in the U.S. And then we will continue to work for Canadians.
As you mentioned, the Prime Minister has he shared the plan with you about how his reflection is going to go? Are you confident he's going to stay on until the next election?
Well, I think it's important that the PM speaks in terms of what he's going to do. He is certainly, he's heard caucus members. There was a meeting earlier this week, and he will continue to listen to caucus members as well as cabinet ministers. And I think it's important that over the next few weeks, he reflects on what he wants to do, but he's also made sure that we focus on Canadians. What's happening in the next few weeks is important, very consequential to Canada, but very consequential to our relationship with the U.S., and that's what we need to be focusing on.
Okay, so you still have, now you have these newbies, cabinet members, people freshly appointed, some of them members of parliament that Canadians have never heard of before, filling these positions because Trudeau's scraping the bottom of the barrel. And of course, they're trying to put the most positive spin they can on chaos within the party. All chaos, really, that in the end has been created by Donald Trump. That's the massive impact that the President of the United States can have, even before he takes office. What would it mean if Trudeau were to prorogue Parliament in order to cling to power in the new year? Well, the Prime Minister would formally request the Governor General of Canada to prorogue Parliament, which is a prerogative of the Crown exercised on the advice of the Prime Minister. And upon the Governor General's approval, the current session of Parliament would then end. All ongoing legislative business, including bills that have not yet received royal assent, would be halted. Committees would cease to function until the new session begins. And any bills not passed into law by the time of prorogation would effectively die on the order paper and would need to be reintroduced in the next session unless there's unanimous consent to revive them at their previous stage. Ongoing committee investigations or studies like those related to the We Charity scandal and past instances would be paused or even terminated. That would benefit Trudeau. A new session of Parliament would be scheduled to start, and this typically begins with a new speech from the throne outlining the government's legislative agenda for the new session. And this speech is significant as it sets out the government's priorities and can be used to reset or refocus the government's narrative, especially if there have been recent controversies or shifts in public sentiment, which, of course, we have seen on a massive scale with the Trudeau regime. The throne speech, though, is often followed by a confidence vote in the House of Commons. And if the government loses that vote, it could lead to an election. But in a minority government situation like the one Trudeau leads, this vote is crucial as it could either solidify or challenge the government's mandate. So it could buy him a little bit of time to reset political agendas or distract from current issues, and to avoid immediate parliamentary scrutiny or confidence votes, particularly if the government feels its position is weak, which it is. And in some cases, prorogation has been used in the past to manage leadership transitions within parties, giving time for internal reorganization or leadership contests. So he may want to use prorogation to buy time, even if he's going to step aside. I think it's going to happen. Prorogation has historically been controversial, especially when perceived as a means to avoid accountability. Opposition parties and the public might react negatively, probably will, especially those of us who would like to see an election, let the people decide, seeing it as an undemocratic move to sidestep accountability. But accountability is coming. While prorogation can technically last until just before the next mandated election, practical considerations like government funding and public opinion often dictate shorter periods. The Constitution mandates the Parliament must meet at least once every 12 months, but typically sessions are prorogued for much shorter periods to address immediate strategic needs. So I don't think even if he prorogues, I don't think we'll go the distance to next fall. I still think we're looking at a spring election. Prorogation, no prorogation, it's coming. Make no mistake. It's going to happen. Now, one of the things, just to pivot a little bit back to Trump and kind of segue into this one thumbnail that we have up tonight for tonight's program, lies, lies, lies. Yeah, we're hearing a lot of lies from people, half-truths, information recycled, refiltered, and repurposed, maybe even unwittingly by our own politicians from foreign sources, pieces of propaganda. In the America Fest speech from Charlie Kirk, for instance, he made reference to the biolabs in Ukraine. But you know, after all this time, no actual proof that the kinds of bioweapons research that have been alleged, no actual proof has ever been put forward except for some documents which have never been actually verified as accurate or authentic, not verified. And then we have, I would say traditional conservatives like Mark Levin, who have come out to address these very issues. While they've been regurgitated repurposed, and it's interesting to see pro-Russian pundits like Colonel McGregor come out and use this whole biolabs thing again in the wake of the assassination of that Russian general, Kirillov, over the past week in Moscow. Let me just, I've got the clip here. As soon as they assassinated him, Kirillov was involved with that whole biolab info war spin, right? That whole cycle. And because he was killed over, well, Ukraine has actually accepted responsibility for it. And then here's McGregor regurgitating, well, I'm going to call it out for what it is. It's a lie. It's a Kremlin lie. It's part of the information war on these biolabs. And I'm calling out Alex Jones on it too. It's just a freaking lie.
Of them, most of them located along Ukraine's border with Russia. And he urged the army to go immediately into these biolabs, gather whatever evidence they could, and then destroy them. So that's the first thing. At the same time, he was also instrumental in pointing the army in the direction of the Kharkov Institute, which was the one facility in Ukraine where there was serious work going on to develop nuclear weapons. Specifically, they were trying to create the equivalent of a suitcase nuclear weapon. The Russian authorities did get to the institute. They shut it down, but unfortunately, they don't know how much was rescued from destruction and whether or not the Ukrainians got something out of it.
Okay. So there's that. And I've been listening to a lot of these pro-Russian hacks spewing this crap again with no proof of any kind. It's just, they just say it. You can disagree with me all you want, but it's a lie. It's just that simple. An exaggeration, a kernel of truth, because the biolabs existed, but they were not being used in the way that the Russians are alleging. It's just another piece of propaganda to justify what they're doing in Ukraine and elsewhere, and lining up their plans to take on the West. Always positioning themselves as the victim, when in fact it's upside down. Here's Mark Levin addressing directly the biolabs issue, and I'm kind of with him on this. In fact, I'm not kind of, I am. And this is me editorializing. It's just my opinion. I'm entitled to it. You're welcome to yours. You can express yourself on this issue if you wish in the chat.
1994 to help protect their sovereignty if they give up their nukes. There are no nukes there. There's been a phony story about American biotech centers there to develop weapons and so forth. And, of course, the Putin wing of the Republican Party and the Putin wing of the media and the Putin wing of the Democrat Party, they're all over it. Now, those are old Soviet locations that the United States has located and has been trying to deal with. We're not developing biochemical weapons in the Ukraine. What is it about these so-called American firsters in the end who are really American lasters, if you think about it?
Yeah. That's exactly right. He is 100% on point. There's your guy. He's 100% on point. And what have I seen even this last week? More lies on the Russian side. Not to say that, we don't have politicians and bureaucrats over here who haven't lied. We certainly have had our fair share of that. We always do. But folks, just because you catch somebody lying over here doesn't mean they're not lying to you over there. They're lying. in this past week, too. Vladimir Putin approving media posts, media articles through Russian media, accusing the United States, saying that the United States has declared war on Russia. Now, we've been hearing this kind of spin, this kind of rhetoric for a long time now from Russia, from Putin. But that's what it is. It is spin, and it's a lie. Now you can argue it's a perspective, and if you want, you can accept it as truth, but it's not true. This is a narrative that is being spun up in order to get you to not trust our own government and cast Russia as the victim. Putin's the victim.
Russia's Vladimir Putin has escalated tensions to unprecedented levels, boldly proclaiming that his nation is engaged in direct conflict with the world's most powerful military alliance. Footage of Putin's speech shows him declaring, "We are at war with NATO. They are using Ukrainian soldiers as proxies."
That was 6 months ago, so that's what I keep saying. He's been doing this for quite some time. And it's that kind of language, in my view, that is very, very dangerous. You know, because it's all one-sided. Of course, we're at war, but we're talking about a guy who has been threatening to nuke us. He's been threatening repeatedly to use nuclear weapons. Might mean it, but it's just talking about it is very dangerous. It pushes the other side into a corner where maybe somebody over here will think, well, we better strike him first because he probably means it. And then this ongoing rhetoric about the West has declared war. Like he's literally saying we have declared war. There's been no formal declaration of war by NATO or the United States. Certainly there hasn't been one, period. He's saying that this action constitutes a declaration of war, that the use of Storm Shadows and ATACMS missiles against targets within Russian territory, that's a declaration of full-scale war. It's actually the other way around, and that's why you're seeing media outlets expressing concern tonight about Russia possibly attacking Western targets. Because it's not actually, you see, us attacking or declaring war on them. It's him declaring war on us through the back door. So now he's found what he's trying to justify an escalation on his side. He's flipping it upside down again. And you can sit there and I'm expecting that our good friend Johnny is probably in the chat. No doubt. I should look in the chat over on Rumble. Let me take a quick look over here. Yeah, you're in there. Hello there, Johnny. Yeah, well, it's Putin. And you can find the whole Putin plan laid out in the Alexander Dugin books and speeches and interviews, Putin's brain, and that's where it's all coming from. Because they don't even recognize Ukraine as a country, and therefore everything they do they feel is justified. But we will get into that more on another night. But there's Levin, and it's not just Levin, it's even Russian scientists. Let me show you. I need to take a break so I can rejig and regroup here for a moment. I've got a whole bunch of other stuff for you tonight here too. Hang on.
You know, someone very profoundly once said many years ago that if fascism ever comes to America, it'll come in the name of liberalism.
Well, I think it's time we ask ourselves if we still know the freedoms that were intended for us by the Founding Fathers. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on Earth.
The entire world is watching.
Every dictator, every crazy dictator in the world is watching. The world is watching. On TV, the entire world is watching. On social media.
But the entire world is watching, and yes, they are seeing what we have apparently bravely been willing to say that others are thinking.
Stand for freedom. Literally stand for freedom. Let's get this done. The entire world is watching.
We're at war with the most dangerous enemy that has ever faced mankind in his long climb from the swamp to the stars.
Maverick News. Maverick News. Maverick News.
Let me have more control of my own destiny.
The world is watching.
So, Russian scientists themselves have actually come out to speak out against this whole biolab story, which has turned out to be complete bunk, but being recycled right now because they're upset that one of their generals was taken out in Moscow. Do I have it up here? Here it is. Right there. Russian scientists speak out against Putin's Ukraine bioweapons labs lies. Moscow's claims that there are bioweapons labs in Ukraine under Pentagon control are an embarrassment to Russia, according to a scientist who is among a group of experts who have debunked the conspiracy theory. Olga Peterson, an expert in genome sequencing based in Sweden, told Newsweek and other media outlets that she was stunned at what the Russian Foreign Ministry had presented as evidence that Ukraine was developing a biological weapons program in cahoots with the U.S. She was among a group of 10 scientists that has publicly accused the Russian government of lying. Some members of the group are in Russia and have risked their safety to tell the truth. If they had any tangible proof, they would not have put those particular documents as an open source because those documents, they prove jack, she said. And those documents were never verified as authentic. The documents in question, it says, were produced by Russia's defense ministry, fabricated, showing orders from Ukraine's health minister on the second day of the Russian invasion. Russian Defense Ministry spokesman, Major General Igor Koneshnikov, told TASS the documents showed Ukrainian and American scientists had been trying to conceal a military biological program involving plague, anthrax, tularemia, and cholera. He said the documents showed labs in the cities of Kharkiv and Poltava had been ordered to destroy collections of bacterial pathogens used for research. And then it was repeated by that Lieutenant General Igor Kirilov, who is the head of Russia's military radiation, chemical, and biological protection force, who displayed the documents during a briefing, and he's also been involved in the Russian information warfare front as well, interestingly. And it turns out that those labs were not used for anything of the sort, and no actual proof has ever been produced. No real proof. And every country has biolabs. They're just amplifying a narrative that isn't accurate using a grain of truth. and it's being regurgitated, even by some U.S. officials, because the propaganda is so powerful. Believe what you want, but that's what they want. You see, even Alexander Dugin says Russia has its own special truth. Yeah, because you see, for him, truth is perspective. That's what the Russians are engaged in. If you can convince people to believe something, it becomes the truth, whether it's true or it isn't. That's particularly effective when dealing with political issues or even issues of war. People believe what they are led to believe, and if people believe it, then the belief becomes the truth. Interesting concept, all about information warfare. Interesting too, you know, and Johnny, hey, Johnny. You know, it's like Elon Musk, right? I said I was going to talk more about Elon Musk. We're going to talk about Elon Musk now. Might as well. The timing is right. Johnny, you are in the chat. You love to rip AIPAC. Are you there, Johnny, in the chat? You can call me if you want. I'm just going to talk a little bit about this tonight because you're in there doing your job. AIPAC. Johnny will tell you in the chat, and when he calls in, that AIPAC basically controls the U.S. government. That the Jews control the U.S. government. Israel controls the U.S. government because they spend about $100 million to influence politics through AIPAC and supporting particular candidates. Yeah, that's okay. Some people leaving because they don't want to open their minds and listen to another side of this. But I'm going to give you some numbers and something to think about. People cheering for Elon Musk, cheering for MAGA, cheering for everything. Here, I'm not saying this is a lie, what I'm about to tell you, but it certainly leaves me scratching my head. As people cheer for Trump, who says he's going to bring in declare a national emergency that will give him broad sweeping executive powers to do pretty much anything he wants in particular sectors. And then right by his side, there's a multi-billionaire who buys Twitter, has the ability to buy Twitter for $44 billion because he doesn't like what the company is doing and says he's an advocate for free speech and has the financial means to do it. And then gets involved in politics as Trump comes off a complete social media ban, buys up Twitter just in the nick of time to restore free speech, give Trump a platform again to amplify what he was trying to do with Truth Social, which didn't have enough traction on its own, but Twitter certainly did. And do you know how much, and I'm going to ask Johnny if he's in the chat, do you, because this is an interesting thing we can talk about. Johnny, do you know how much, this is a cool thing, okay? Think about this. Do you know how much Elon Musk spent on Trump's campaign? Just Trump. $272 million. $272 million. Elon Musk, one guy, invested, that's just him, invested in the Trump campaign. AIPAC spends about $100 million. And you think they control the world. Now do you understand why Elon Musk is glued to Trump's hip right now? That's why some people are saying it's President Musk. He's essentially purchased his way into the White House. And people who are concerned about the deep state, too much money in the system influencing politics, there sits one of the world's richest guys, maybe the world's richest man, and he's right next to Trump. and spent nearly 3 times as much as AIPAC on the presidential campaign himself. That's why during the budget deliberations, the debt ceiling debacle, he was just almost given the job of Speaker of the House, and he's not even elected. Now, not only that, think about this. And this is, again, this is lies episode. That's not necessarily a lie. Or is it? Excuse me. I find this humorous and concerning. You have a guy now who Trump has appointed to the Department of Government Efficiency. Yeah, the same letters that make up Doge, the cryptocurrency that was really a meme currency that Elon Musk, through his own leverage, turned into something that actually seems to have some level of public credibility to the point where people are actually investing in it now. He made a crap load of money off that just because he invested in it. And now that's those same letters being used to give title to this new government agency, the Department of Government Efficiency, that Elon Musk is supposed to head in order to root out government inefficiency. What would that involve? Well, that would involve a lot of government contracts, right? Well, who gets more government contracts than Elon Musk? Is there not some sort of conflict of interest there? I'm just asking for a friend. It's just, you can't make this stuff up. Like, seriously. Now, I compiled some figures prior to coming on tonight. Let's see if I still have them here. Yeah, here we go. So, how much money does Elon Musk get in government grants and subsidies? And he gets these things, you know, to the tune of billions of dollars. Tesla has received substantial financial support through various forms of government aid. Tesla has benefited from around $4.9 billion in government support. That includes grants, tax breaks, factory construction, discounted loans, environmental credits. And the figure, that figure was reported to the Los Angeles Times in 2015. That doesn't even talk about what's been going on since then. A lot of these numbers not readily available. Additionally, Tesla received $465 million in a loan from the U.S. Department of Energy in 2010. More recent data suggests that Tesla has received federal contracts amounting to $41.9 million since 2008, alongside benefiting from tax credits and rebates to buyers which indirectly support the company. And there's more. Tesla's receipt of billions in subsidies. Some suggest that figures like $3 billion in taxpayer subsidies and more than $466 million in federal loans, possibly. And then Canada also dumps money into Tesla as well. The numbers here, again, not readily available, but there's even money from the Canadian government, other governments as well. But the U.S. government, massive amounts of money dumped into Tesla and SpaceX as well. And we're not even getting into SpaceX or Starlink. These other companies, they all, if it wasn't for government subsidies, grants, tax breaks, Elon Musk would not be the billionaire he is today. I'm not even sure Tesla would exist. Elon Musk might be on Skid Row. His companies are all foundationally based on government money. And he's running the Department of Government Efficiency. You've got the fox guarding the hen house, I think, maybe. And then Trump stands up there at America Fest and says he's going to end the EV mandates. Yeah. What's Musk going to have to say about that? This is Mr. Electric Vehicle, right? Whatever happens, I'm going to suggest this to you. Don't be surprised if, however Trump addresses the electric vehicle mandate issue, yeah, I think he will end the EV mandate. But whatever he does on that issue, on that portfolio, Elon Musk is going to come out looking pretty good and in pretty good financial shape. I can pretty much guarantee it. 100%. Yeah. And I don't think that I don't think he's going to have as easy a time of cutting wasteful spending as maybe he thinks. There's going to be a wake-up call for a lot of these people in the Trump administration, and I think I'm predicting too that there's going to be a fair degree of dysfunctionality within the administration itself, because you have the conservatives and then you have the MAGA communists, as so described by Jackson Hinkle. That would be the socialists, the libertarians, the mix of other people from the left, and the Democrats who have left to join MAGA. It's going to be a wild ride. It absolutely is. Here we are. Let's go over to CNN. I mean, I'm sitting here. I'm perplexed a little bit as to why people are not more concerned about like Musk in these positions after donating that much money and so on. But I guess some people are concerned, just not on the MAGA or conservative side so much. I think we're still there's still some people a little bit blinded by, they've got a blind spot is really what it is, because they're still euphoric over the Trump victory, I would say, but not so on CNN. And let's just hear, they're talking about President Musk. I think there's some legitimacy to the question, as much as I'm not a big CNN fan. Here it is.
Is this going to wear thin with Donald Trump soon?
I don't think so. I mean, look, they appear to be getting along well. Musk was very instrumental in his victory. And I hear Democrats, criticizing the idea that we have unelected people with too much influence over the government. I invite them to pick up the Wall Street Journal from this week and find out that unelected people have been running the government for the last 4 years. I hear Democrats criticizing the influence of billionaires on our politics when you've got this Soros punk running around collecting Democrat politicians like my kids collect Pokemon cards. So I think all the criticism of Musk coming from the left is totally hypocritical, totally over the top. And he is doing something interesting, bringing some transparency to the federal government. It's not a terrible thing.
But it's Is this going to wear thin?
So there you have a conservative, sort of a conservative, or a MAGA supporter defending Trump and Musk working together and Trump's influence. We'll see. Come on. Musk was literally paying people in a contest $1 million a pop to basically throw their support behind Trump and then make a video saying, "Yay, Trump." $1 million. I'll give you $1 million and I'll give you $1 million. All you have to do is say we'll script it, and you stand in front of the camera and you vote for Donald Trump. That's what it was. I don't even know if that there were questions. Is that legal? Probably not, but they got away with it. You talk about rigging an election. Well, there's real influence there, wouldn't you say? If someone gave you $1 million, can you honestly say you wouldn't stand up and say something nice about a politician, even if you had concerns about it? That'd be very tempting, wouldn't it? The average person. That's what went on in the election. Too big to rig? Yeah, better get Elon Musk in there. Oh, my. All right. Go MAGA. You want more lies? How about this one? This, either way you slice it, this one doesn't look good for the U.S., okay? This is not good for NATO. It's not good for the U.S. at all. It is embarrassing either way, but I'm pretty sure I know which way the lie is slanted. This is the situation in the Middle East with the Houthis and the U.S. military. the Houthis have claimed to have shot down an F-18. But I think they're lying. Maybe call this one a fib. Maybe you just call it a bit of a fib. No, it's a lie. It's a lie. But the truth is also embarrassing to the United States. Here it is here. Houthis claim to shoot down U.S. F-A-18 in bold strike on aircraft carrier in Red Sea. Let me see if I've got to find the tab here again. So what really happened is this jet apparently was shot down in an accident, case of friendly fire. And there's an investigation ongoing now to determine exactly what happened. But the Houthis no, it was us. We shot it down. Yeah, you didn't shoot it down. The Americans did it for you, which is probably worse. Maybe. I don't know which is worse. Is it because the Houthis got you, or because you got shot down on your own? This is a Sputnik article. Of course, they're backing up the Houthi claim because the Houthis are doing the Russian bidding in the Red Sea, choking off shipping at a critical point as vessels try to make their way down to the Suez Canal, disrupting shipping routes and trying to control all the shipping in that area. That's what a lot of this is really about, this Ukraine war and the war in Gaza, both. And those ports in the on the shores of Ukraine, Sevastopol. It says here, earlier it was reported that a U.S. Navy F-18 fighter jet was shot down by friendly fire during an operation over the Red Sea, with both pilots ejecting safely. Fighters of the Yemeni Ansar Allah Houthi group have repelled joint U.S.-UK Air Force's attack, shooting down a U.S. F-18 during their attack on the USS Harry S. Truman aircraft carrier in the Red Sea. That, according to the group's military spokesman, Brigadier General Yahya Sari. That coming out today. He says, during the operation, an F-18 jet was shot down attempting to repel the attack on the U.S. aircraft carrier. He was on television saying this. He says 8 cruise missiles and 17 unmanned aerial vehicles were involved in the operation. Yeah, I'm not buying it. Because the U.S. can't win either way. So I think it's more embarrassing for them, honestly, to acknowledge that they did it to themselves. That doesn't happen very often. So they'll look into it. They'll deal with it. Now, maybe the U.S. is lying. Well, somebody's lying. That's the point. Maybe they're lying because they don't want more escalation with the Houthis. Maybe they're afeared of them. But I don't think they're that afraid. Well, I think they are a little bit afraid of escalation. They don't want war on too many fronts, but there has definitely been conflict between the two sides in the Red Sea this week. But with this kind of information warfare going on, I don't know exactly what the truth is. I'm coming down on the side of the Houthis lying, because I think they want to score a PR victory and be able to say back home and to the Russians, look at what we did, and to the public on their side. But I'm open to being shown that they really did shoot it down. Anyway, lies, lies, lies. The first casualty in war, I'm so tired now. The first casualty of war is truth, right? Well, there you have it. We don't even know who's telling the truth. All we know is for sure that the jet went down. Now, also, this from Johnny. He sent me this, and I want to talk a little bit about this, because this is all this. I don't know if this is a lie, but it's certainly misleading. This is a social media post. Hang on here. No, I got to bring it up over here. This is a social media post about the Trudeau government stealing $7 billion from public pension funds. Is Trudeau stealing $7 billion in our money? Stay with me. We'll dig into it on the other side.
Maverick News. The world is watching.
Yeah, so here it is here. Here's the post. This is, what channel is this one from? It's from something called Canada Info. And then this was sent to me. Here it is. And look at the headline. Is Trudeau government stealing $7 billion from public pension funds? And then what this is they've posted video from a parliamentary committee meeting dealing with an issue about public pensions. So, of course, Johnny, I know you sent this to me, and I know that some people are worried about the Trudeau government stealing our pension money. But is that really the case? Well, not exactly. I'll run a little bit of this because it is a concern, and I get it. But here it is.
Next up, we go to Ms. Sinclair de Gagné. Remotely for 6 minutes, please. Thank you, Chair. I'd like to thank the witnesses for being here. I would also, of course, like to wish you a happy holiday season. So I'll
$7 billion.
Directly start asking my questions. I have many questions. The first one will be for Ms. Boudreau. Now, if we look at the details of the public accounts, we see that the net debt hasn't really fluctuated that much because there's a big difference in terms of the assets coming from pensions. And if you look at the numbers between 2023 and 24, there is a difference of $7 billion. And in my riding only, Ms. Boudreau, I received within the span of a week 30 emails from civil servants who live in my riding and who are accusing the government of stealing their pension. And when you look at the numbers, you see that the government actually used some of the excess, the surplus there, and the government seems to have taken an amount that is far in excess of the amount that they have the right to manipulate. And you also mentioned this is one of the transactions that caused a bit of a delay in the filing of public accounts. And what is bizarre is that what caused the delay in public accounts presentation is the government who decided to go and use some of the money that is put into the system by civil servants, their contributions. So what can you please explain to us the $7 billion difference, or how much of that comes from the civil servant pension funds? Thank you very much for the question. When it comes to the $1.9 billion that I mentioned, the surplus, the non-allowed surplus, that has no impact on the consolidated public accounts of the government for March 31st, 2024. But there's a $7 billion difference when it comes to assets from the public sector pension plans, because that must explain the bulk of the difference. Well, I can get back to you with a written response, but what I can say at the moment is that the surplus, non-authorized surplus, has no impact, and people who are currently retired and who will be retiring soon will have no impact on their pensions in connection with the surplus. But that...
Okay, look, this is really hard to follow, right? Maybe even a little dry. And the reason I bring this up is because, see, I know that, John, you had some concerns about it, and you instantly, like many people, thought this is about the Canada Pension Plan and the government stealing our money. And it is not really quite the case at all. In fact, there's actually a positive side to this, but also some legitimate concerns. But what you need to understand is this is not, and it sounds like it's a huge thing for Canadians, this is not my money. It's not your money. It's actually the other way around. This is $7 billion in question related to only the pension plan for federal public servants, government workers, just the government workers, not the general fund for all Canadians, not the Canada Pension Plan. This is just the pension plan for government workers, Public Service Alliance of Canada workers. And this is about a dispute, a labor dispute, essentially a contract dispute between the public sector unions and the federal government. And this actually speaks to the power of capitalism in a way, because what people are not understanding here is what's really going on is that headline, intentional, unintentional, I don't know. I don't want to accuse the people with that channel of posting something misleading on purpose, but certainly in this case, people are reading that and they're thinking, because I've spoken to people about it, and they're thinking, oh my God, Trudeau is stealing our pension money and there won't be any Canada pension for me when I retire. No, what's happened is federal workers have a contract with the federal government as the employer. The workers put in 50% of whatever it is agreed upon for their pension fund. The federal government puts in the other half for their pension fund, just for them. And then that money is invested in stocks and other assets through asset management companies like, and I hate to say this, and I'm not saying they're using BlackRock, but it would be a company like BlackRock, which people also do not understand how that works. It's just been turned into a boogeyman for the communists and people on the left of the political spectrum who want to demonize capitalism. All right? The pension money then sits in a fund. That money is then invested in the stock market, and it balloons and it grows over time, as investments do. According to the way the contract is written, there's a threshold, a certain amount of money that must be maintained within that fund in order to make sure that when those people retire, those government employees retire, that money will be there for them. However, if the amount of money in that fund balloons past a certain amount, because there is public taxpayer money in there as well, not just money contributed by the workers, the government workers, who are well paid, get full benefits, lots of vacation time, they have pretty sweet contracts overall, and a very sweet pension fund. But if the amount of money in the fund exceeds a certain amount, because taxpayer money, our money, Johnny, is actually in the fund as well to 50%. If it goes past a certain amount, then that money is called surplus. And if that surplus exceeds 25%, which represents a buffer in case of a downturn in the economy or downturn in pricing in the stock market and the investments, that amount of money is there as a buffer to protect the pension fund. And if it goes beyond that, at what is called 125%, then that money can be used by the federal government to go back into other areas of the government budget so that the taxpayers get that back. So we get our part of the investment back. The union is arguing that that should not be the case because they think that all the money, the union is saying all of the pension money, even if it goes past this certain amount, and there's legislation in place that mandates this, that money has to then be available to the federal government for use to reduce the tax burden on the general public so that it doesn't all go back to the federal workers. But the federal workers, through the union, they're arguing that all the money should just stay with the workers, no matter how big the fund gets, no matter what it is, and that money should either be refunded to the workers or it should be given to them as a larger pension when they retire, or that they should be given contribution holidays where, because there's so much money in the fund, that they wouldn't actually have to make any more contributions for a while, for a period of time, to the pension fund, because the pension fund has been so successful through capitalistic investments in the stock market that they don't even have to invest in their own pension fund because there's so much money in it. It's flush with cash beyond their wildest dreams. And that's where the extra $7 billion came from. And so the people, of course, who want to demonize capitalism and frankly just, criticize Trudeau have flipped that because the unions are looking for a negative narrative on this as well. And they're saying Trudeau is stealing the $7 billion. And they've framed it in such a way that it makes people believe in posts kind of like this through the headline that it's Trudeau stealing our money, when it's actually kind of the other way around, and the money's going back into the general coffers so that we don't have as much of a tax burden because the well-paid federal employees have a pension fund that is so sweet and has been managed so well by the asset management companies that invest those funds on behalf of the workers and the government, that they have so much money they don't know what to do with it. And now they're fighting over $7 billion that is surplus. So in this particular case, calm down. It's okay. They're not stealing your money. They're trying to give it back to you. And the unions don't want you to have it. The unions want to keep it there and keep the federal government workers flush with cash. They want to keep it all for themselves. And there's an argument to be made for that. I'm not taking a position on that one way or the other. That's something that has to be negotiated and disputed. But this has been an ongoing thing for a long time. I think there was a court case going all the way back to like 2006 and a subsequent ruling again in the Supreme Court around 2000, don't quote me on the year, but 2013 over this issue. And the court ruled that the government had the right, based on the collective agreement that they have with the federal workers and through the legislation has already been in place to protect taxpayers, that they have the right to take those surplus funds beyond a certain amount and then put them into general revenue. And the reason they can also do that is because the collective agreement as it spells out the particulars of the federal employee pension plan, guarantees a certain amount to the employees. So the employees, when they retire, will get what they were promised in the contract, even if that $7 billion is returned to the taxpayers. Now, the union can litigate this legally, and they can also address this during the next round of collective bargaining and take that to the table and see if they can get a better deal for the government employees at that time. But right now, the government hasn't stolen anything, nothing at all. The union is just disputing it. That's the way it's laid out. I hope people understand what I'm saying. That's not sensationalistic. That's not the clickbait that you're accustomed to. That, folks, is just hard, cold facts and truth. And it might be a little dry and even a little hard to understand. But I'm not going to sit here and lie to you about it, just because I'd also like to see an election, and I would like to see Trudeau replaced. And that's my personal opinion. And I've said many times, he's the worst prime minister in Canadian history. But you don't need to lie. You don't need to embellish. You don't need to exaggerate. The truth is bad enough. All right? It's bad enough. And so just tell the truth and we'll all be better off. Fight for the truth. We'll continue to do that right here on the Maverick News Channel. And you can help by donating at freedomreporters.com. And you know what? The postal strike is over. And so I can get caught up on some of the things we need to ship out. And if you donate tonight at freedomreporters.com, you know what I'll do? I'll send you a copy of that Christmas song that we played at the beginning of the program. Send you a free download of that. And if you donate $30, regardless of how much you donate, I'll send you that song as a digital download. Also, if you donate $30 or more, I'll send you a Maverick News t-shirt. Just tell me what size you need. Send me an email or make a comment in the comments section. When you go to the freedomreporters.com URL, it takes you to the PayPal page. Just tell me what size you need. You can have it in any color you want as long as it's black. And even if you don't donate, I will ask you to please consider subscribing, liking, sharing, and hit that thumbs up. I hope we've earned that from you tonight. Just hit the thumbs up and the likes. That would help us a lot. And that doesn't cost you a thing. Also, if you donate $60 or more, I will send you a Maverick News hoodie. We have those as well. We've got other garments as well, but those are the two tonight that I'll let you know about. Again, if you want something else, just message me, and we can get you set up. But it's just that simple. freedomreporters.com to support the channel. And we'll keep on fighting for truth in this festive season. I hope everybody is cranked up and ready to go for Christmas. It's just days away. I have more shopping to do. I don't know about you. And my dog, as I told you, it was my daughter's birthday yesterday. And that's why I wasn't here last night. So Christmas for me is a very special time because my daughter born just before Christmas, and then we have Christmas just a number of days later. So it's a big family time, and it goes on for days. Not that we go over the top or anything, but it's just that we all come together around this time of year. So I'm sorry I wasn't here last night, but I had to be there for that. And I'll continue to be here as we get closer. But my dog, too. Something wrong with my dog. He is nuts. It's really cold here, and he won't come inside. Yeah, he's out lounging on the deck right now, even as we speak. There's like a chaise lounge thing there. It's covered in snow. And he's been out there all day, cold. And he will not come inside. He just wants to lay on the ice and the snow. Border Collie. Tough as nails, that dog. He's just like, you think he's at the beach. You'd think he's at the beach. But I love him. And he's a spaz. And when all the people around, he's losing his mind because he's just not used to having all the people around. But he's a very happy dog right now. And I took him away from all the crowds, the family chaos for a little while. So he's having a quiet time lounging on the deck right now. But we'll return to the family chaos in the days ahead as we get ready for Christmas. And love you guys. I'm going to let Cosmo take us out of the broadcast tonight with that title track to the whole Free Dog Freedom album. Here's the title track. Donate $10 or more and I'll send you the whole album along with the Christmas song tonight as a bonus. See you tomorrow, 7 p.m. on the flip side.
I heard old Cosmo howling last night up on the hill where the moon shines so bright. He was singing a tune, lonesome dogs cry about freedom, running and touching the sky. If I leave here tomorrow, won't you still remember me? Cosmo's free, running wild, wild as the wind can be. He's a free dog, he's a free dog, he's a free dog. Cosmo's got them paws that just itch to roam. He's chasing his dreams, he's far from home. With a heart full of love and a spirit so free, he's living his life wild and carefree. If I leave here tomorrow, won't you still remember me? Cosmo's free, running wild, wild as the wind can be. He's a free dog, he's a free dog, he's a free dog. He's got the stars in his eyes, the wind in his fur, a tail that wags like it's never heard of a blur. Cosmo's on a journey, he's got no chains. He's running through fields, breaking all the lanes. Now the night's getting cold and the sky's turning gray, but Cosmo's still out there, he's miles away. He's not looking back, he's got his path to tread. With every step, he's leaving his bed. If I leave here tomorrow, won't you still remember me? Cosmo's free, running wild, wild as the wind can be. He's a free dog, he's a free dog, he's a free dog. So if you're feeling lost, just think of Cosmo's run. Remember his spirit, his freedom, his fun. And maybe one day, when you're feeling alone, you'll find your own freedom and let your spirit go. If I leave here tomorrow, won't you still remember me? Cosmo's free, running wild, wild as the wind can be. He's a free dog, he's a free dog, he's a free dog. In his eyes, the wind in his fur, a tail that wags like it's never heard of a bird. A heart full of love and a spirit so free. He's living his life wild and carefree. He's got the stars in his eyes, the wind in his fur, a tail that wags like it's never heard of a bird. Cosmo's on a journey, he's got no chains. He's running through fields, breaking all the lanes.
This has been a Maverick Multimedia production.